Hello, how are we doing? I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to hop on for those of you that are watching as we record this. And for you that are watching the replay, you can fast forward through this part. You can just kind of chill with me for just a minute. And then as soon as we get a few more people on here, then we will get started. So as you all come on, please say hello. I will start. I can see some people popping on. Started. See. Okay, I need to reconnect my headphones, so sorry about that. I just want to make sure that you can all hear me well. Let's see, my comment didn't post. And if you can't hear me, then that's a problem, right? Let's see if that will post. Okay, I'm going to give it just a minute to make sure that our comments are working. All right, I see it. Hey, Marshall, how we doing? Hi, Jamie. Okay, good deal. We are in business. Welcome. I'm so excited to be here with you. It feels like it's been forever, ever since we've been live. And so I'm excited to spend the next few days with all of you and teach you the Raku finish. I know that's what a lot of you kind of drew you into this class and what made you want to take it. And so we are finally here and we're finally doing it. All right. I kind of structured this class in a way that I would do the first workshops and teach you the textures and kind of the way that nature flows so that you can have a basic understanding of that, because I feel like it's very important to have that before we move into the Raku finishes. There's going to be a lot of techniques that are similar to what we used in the first workshop, and definitely with the texture that's going to be used in all of this. So it's really important to watch those videos and try some of it out before you do this. It will help you to do a better finish, one that you will like more. So thank you for saying hi. I'm so glad you guys are here. Or you all are here. I say you guys a lot and it just comes out. So I try to say you all. All right. So I have a few new things to teach you. The first finish that we are going to be learning tonight is the fiery Raku finish. I call it that because it kind of looks like fire or flames have gone up a dresser or a piece of furniture, and it looks really neat. It's a little bit more harsh, and so it's not as blended or soft, but it has very harsh, like flame lines, kind of. That's the best way for me to describe it. And so that's what we are going to be creating. And then the other finishes have a little bit different technique for that. So, oh, I'm so glad you liked the last class, Lisa. That makes me happy. All right. So we are going to start with that finish. And I've had several say the dresser that I posted in this class, the finish that I'll be teaching, it is copper. So it looks like a bright orange, like the flames are kind of a bright orange, but they are actually a copper. And they are the brass patina effect paste. If you got the kit for Me Design with Prima, that Canterbury put it together for us, this is the color I used. I really like this color for the copper and the Raku finishes because it's a little bit thicker and it's very intense, and so you don't need very much of it. So I really like this. However, there's lots of different copper colors that you can choose. Wiesel has a great one. Let's see, what other ones have I used? I've used one from Paint Couture that was really nice, and I've used the Modern Masters metallics. Those are nice. But I really like this for these finishes, but you can use any of those coppers, but you do want a good copper. Okay, hi Rhonda. All right, so with that, let's get started. I am going to be demonstrating on boards just like I did on the last one. And then after we take all 3 classes, then I will do another live or recorded video working on a full dresser or piece of furniture so that I can add in those little tips and tricks that you need when you're translating this finish onto a larger piece. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, and don't feel like you have to follow me right now, you can watch and do later. is we are going to create our base. So in Raku pottery, a lot of times it will have kind of like either a blackened or burned base. It will have lots of colors, kind of towards the middle usually, and then the top will be another dark color, or it will be a white, or it can be reversed, depending on which way you do it. So on the dresser that I painted, I did kind of like a chipped away finish on the very bottom, almost to look like the pottery had been kind of chipped and worn around the bottom and distressed. So let's do this step first. I will tell you the colors I'm using. I listed them in the color cards. However, if you want to use a little bit different colors, that's totally fine. You can use any colors you want. I'm going to set these aside for just a second. Okay, I want to make sure that y'all can see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so the first thing we are going to get is a hot glue gun. Okay, I know it kind of sounds crazy. There's lots of different ways of distressing this way, but I've found that I really like this way. So I've got my hot glue gun. You can do this on a dresser. This would be applied to either a raw wood or a bare wood, or wood that's been cleaned that's ready to be painted. This wouldn't work probably over something that's already painted because the hot glue will pull it, but to just a regular piece of furniture, the hot glue is going to stick just fine to it. So you're going to take your hot glue, and you're just going to kind of make random shapes, okay? And I just kind of pull it out. Just, you know, kind of to the side. I try not to make them look too much like a spot, because I don't want to make cheetah spots. We'll do a big one on the bottom. Okay. All right. So that's all we're going to do with our hot glue. I'm going to unplug this and set it aside. Okay. And then just let that dry. Hot glue dries pretty quick. And so just let it totally dry before you paint it. Lisa said, are the color cards printable somewhere? The color cards are saved in each unit under each Raku finish, and they're saved under like the fiery Raku finish card. So you can do that if you would like to do that. I just ask that you not, distribute them or share them in any way, just because it's private for the class. But if you want to print them out for your own use to follow the steps, you can absolutely do that. Just right from Facebook, I think. You can save the photo and print out. Okay, so our glue's getting dried. Okay, so we're going to set the glue down. When the glue's dry, we're going to paint bone over the top of it. You can use any light color. You could use a white. You could use like an ivory or a cream. I like to use bone because it has a good mixture of a little bit of gray and mostly white. So I think it's really beautiful. But like I said, any color similar to that is going to be great. Okay. Hey, Lisa. Oh, no, I don't even sweat it. I just like to throw that in there just in case. Oh, that's a good idea, Amanda. She said she copied and pasted the words in them and printed them for her own use just on a piece of paper. And they're nice to have because they're not as descriptive or thorough as the video is going to be, but they're nice to have just to have little reminders so that you know where you're at. Okay, that is where we're starting. Okay, so I'm just going to grab a little paintbrush. This is just an S30 Klingon brush, and I'm going to place it right over the top of every wave. This is the hot glue. Who would have thought, right? And I'm just going to put the hot glue or the paint right over top of the hot glue. Okay. It doesn't have to be super thick because I like to distress this bottom part after I remove the hot glue. However, if you don't have good coverage or you want it to be more intense, let it dry a little bit and then add on a second coat. And that hot glue is it's really going to stay in place. It's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what your base should look like. Now, I've done this using waxes, you can put like a little bit of a wax down, paint, and then pull the wax back. I've done it with rubber cement, a lot of different things, but the hot glue was just so easy to control and so quick, and it hasn't affected any furniture finish or anything because it peels back so easily. All right. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, but I'm not that patient, so I'm going to cheat a little bit because it's not totally dry. You just need something with like a sharp, straight edge, a butter knife, you know, can opener, anything like that will work. And then I just kind of get under the hot glue, and then you're just going to peel it right off, okay? And it's going to leave those little chipped, almost like the pottery was chipped or didn't get glazed completely all the way around the bottom. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and remove them. And keep in mind, you don't have to do your piece or whatever exactly the way I'm showing you. If you don't like the way this base looks, you don't have to use this base. You can just do the finish all the way down to the bottom. You could do a darker base. This is just a part that kind of separates all that color going on and gives you a little bit of variety. So I like to add it to the bottom, and I like to teach it. You can add this to any finish of piece if you want, as we learn these other techniques, if you like it better with the smoldering finish or the bright and colorful finish, then you can do that too. Okay, so this is what it will look like just peeled and painted, okay? So there's a hot glue peeled and painted. Now you can take some sandpaper, 220 fine grit sandpaper, and then you can kind of distress it. Soften it up here, distress it a little bit, distress where you put the hot glue, and then you get a softer, worn feel instead of such a harsh feel. All right, and then that step is done, okay? So let's move on. I've got my little baggies here. Whenever I teach, I always have little baggies that I put my brushes in, and it keeps them from drying out. Because I'm probably going to reuse several of them as we layer colors. So I want to have them handy instead of just putting them into water. If I was done with it completely, I would just throw it into some water. Okay, so we'll set that one aside. All right, so now we need to create basically the 3/4 of the rest of the finish, okay? So we're going to use this side. So far, this is our dresser. All we have is this bottom and just bare wood or whatever the dresser is made of up top. We're going to mix some salt wash. So going back to our textures, we're going to use salt wash. I really like salt wash especially for furniture because it's so durable, and I've never had any issues with a finish not being super stellar, honestly. It's really awesome stuff. If I can get the lid off. There we go. Okay. Ooh. And then I'm going to use carbon. So I prefer a really dark charcoal color. Carbon has a little bit of blue undertones, and it's almost just super, super dark. It's really beautiful. So I like to use carbon. You could use jet black, or you could use a lighter dark gray if you want to. So we're just going to mix a little bit of our carbon and salt wash together. Yes, you can. I know the salt wash cans are hard to get the lids off sometimes. Which I guess is a good thing, but I know I always struggle with it. Okay, so I'm going to mix this up and see where this takes us. That might be too much, but okay. And the trick with this is, too, you don't have to mix up enough salt wash and paint to cover the whole entire dresser. Most pieces have texture in some places and not in other places. So what I would recommend doing is one of two things. You can do it either way, okay? You can paint your top half in carbon, and then you can mix up a little bit of salt wash and carbon and just add it in sporadic places so you have texture in some places and not in others. Or you can add the texture on first, let it dry, see what you think, and then take your carbon paint and you can go over the top of all of your textured area. Just don't touch your bottom, all right? Okay, so this is probably a little too runny. I want it a little bit thicker than that. Now, something to keep in mind with salt wash, if you're working outside, it tends to get warm in the summer, especially depending on where you all live. Your climates and humidities might be different, but your paint is going to dry faster with salt wash in it, especially outside. So if you think that it's not quite thick enough but pretty close, don't mix any more salt wash in it. Just that heat is going to dry it fast, and so you won't need to add more salt wash. It'll save you some product by kind of doing that if you do it outside. If you're in somewhere that's like a controlled temperature, then it probably won't be that big of a deal. Probably won't dry out as fast. You can mix it to the consistency that you want. I love carbon too, Shauna. It's one of my favorite colors, honestly. It's beautiful. Okay, so now that we have our carbon and salt wash mixture, we're just going to smear this on the top, okay? I'm just getting it onto the piece. So this will add a little bit of texture this way. And it doesn't matter if I go down like into the white a little bit, or if I leave a little bit of wood in between the bone and the carbon. I can leave a little bit showing if I want. Okay, or I can cover it all up. All right, so just get it onto the piece. Do you add water or more paint when it goes too thick? I've added both, and both seem to work equally well. If I'm having really good coverage and I just want it a little bit thinner, I might just add a little bit of water in. If I'm not, if it's thinner, then I'll add more paint to make sure that I'm getting enough coverage. Is the consistency like bark? Yeah, it's pretty similar to that. It's probably a little less stiff than that. All right, so now that I've got it on there, I'm going to stipple, okay? So this is just going to create some different texture. Do you see how that creates more of that bumpy texture, and then I've got smooth parts? Okay, so I'm just going to pull it in different places to create that texture. And if I have too much, I can even pull it off with my brush, and I can pull it over to this other side. Okay, and then I can paint my whole board if I want to. All right, but that's basically what we're getting at right now, is just get that nice texture on there, have some smooth spots and some kind of rough texture spots. All right, once you get to this point, you need to let it completely dry. Before I add any paint, I will, and I know it's dry, I'll kind of run my hand across it and make sure it feels smooth to the touch. It's not going to feel smooth like a cabinet smooth, but I want to feel that texture, but I don't want it to be sharp or feel uncomfortable to the touch. So I'll let it dry, and if it feels that way, I'll just barely lightly go over it with 220 fine grit sandpaper and just knock off any peaks or any areas that are sharp, and then make sure I have a nice smooth base there. Okay, so let me put this in my baggie. You guys have great questions too. And please don't hesitate to ask, because probably there's somebody else that has the same question sometimes. Okay, so those are our first two steps, okay? I'm gonna set that aside. So it should look like this now, right? Okay, you can even see, even on this sample, I have some little pieces that aren't completely covered, because we're going to be layering a lot of paint on this. But we don't want to walk up and feel like there's, 10 layers of paint on it. That's what kind of tricks the mind, is you do thin layers, but lots of different colors, and then it kind of plays with the mind. So you think it has all this dimension and stuff, which is really cool. Okay. All right. So this is what it should look like. Now we're going to add 2 of our colors. The first is Refurbished Gentleman. I really love this color for this finish and in the Raku pottery because it's just a beautiful steel blue tone, and it looks really, really good, especially against the carbon. It looks awesome. So we are going to use that Refurbished Gentleman and Native Clay. This is the color I created that Wiesel Paint just barely released, and it is pertinent to Raku finishes. It absolutely makes it. Okay, so those are the first 2 we're going to have. I'm going to take my Refurbished Gentleman, and we're just going to paint, so this is our top of the dresser. Towards the top of the dresser, or the piece, we're going to kind of paint a little bit of Refurbished Gentleman. I just kind of painted it in a straight line, but you can paint it kind of all over. I'll show you. You don't need very much paint on your brush. I'm dipping out of the can lid right now. Okay? And we're just going to get some of that on there. Okay, and I'm actually just going to come across and kind of meet these. Okay, and now that I have most of it on there, I am going to just take my brush, and whatever's left on there, I'm going to just rub this out. So I'm blending it out, okay? I don't have very much paint on my brush. And I'm going to do this little circle motion, okay? This is important, especially in all Raku finishes. I found that this stroke or this motion is very important, but especially in the fiery Raku. I do round strokes, and I'll pull down harder, and then I'll kind of go up. So it's more like an oblong shape. And that way I'm pulling it down because the color almost looks in some places like it's dripped down. And in other places, it looks like the fire or the flames, that this pot has been in, go up and come up. And so we need the paint to have that same flow to trick the eye so it looks more real, okay? So just going kind of in that oblong motion, I'm pulling down and then I'm pulling up, okay? So that's kind of what you're thinking, is up and down, not like an ocean wave, but just more, you're kind of building a base for where your fire licks would go. That's what you need to be thinking about when you're doing this part, okay? So that's about all we need right there, okay? And it will blend out. We will blend it more as we go, okay? And believe it or not, this is the same color, just looks very different, totally dried for some reason. Okay, so that's our Refurbished Gentleman. We will use some of these same colors on multiple pieces, so just so those of you that got the kit, you should have extra, and depending on the size of project as well. Okay, so now we're going to use our Native Clay, and we're going to blend these 2 together. And this, you can do one right after the other. You don't have to wait till it dries. You're putting these layers on so thin that most of the time it dries so fast you don't have to wait anyways. But even if it's not totally dry, that's okay too. And the same thing, I'm actually just using the same brush because it hardly had any paint left on it. And I'm going to use the Native Clay. And we're going to do the same thing on the bottom, okay? Oh, T. Yeah, Mark is the Refurbished Gentleman. And he's such a good guy. I actually got the pleasure of meeting him when I went to Florida, and he came and brought paddle boards for us, but he is retiring, so he had his last live tonight. Okay, so we are just taking the Native Clay and just going right below, and some of it might come up a little bit into it. I always stipple on the color first. Okay. And then whatever's left on my brush, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to kind of blend it up and down. Thank you, Lisa. It really is just such a beautiful color, and it was needed. It was so needed for this finish, and so I made the color, and I called Erin at Wiesel, and I said, I have the best color. I need it for my class. I have to have this for my class. So I sent it to her. They made it, sent me my pints, and they said, this goes perfectly with our new colors, the ones they just released. Let's add it to it. So we did. So it was that's the story of native clay. Okay, I'm going to come back through with just a little bit, and the same thing. You're just kind of creating those same patterns. Okay, like a fire lick. Okay. So you can see how it kind of comes up, almost like it was a flame coming up, right? And then it kind of fades out because I hardly have any paint on my brush when I'm pulling the paint up. I'm just kind of letting it fade out where I have more paint down here, okay? And the more you do this, the more comfortable you'll get with this technique and the better you'll get at it. And dude, use this on any colors. You could make clouds with it. You could make a cool sunset. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do if you take these steps and break them down as well. So learn everything from each step because it will help you, I promise. Yeah, it's so pretty. Okay, I love it. All right, so now we've got our two base, I call them my base colors because not a lot of them are going to show, but I do want to have those colors kind of hidden underneath, and so you'll see them occasionally. That's why you need so many colors, is you kind of build and slowly create all these hidden colors, one underneath each other, okay? Okay, so now we are going to start adding some metallics. We've got our copper. I've got some sapphire out. This is the blue sapphire from Wiesel Paint. We're going to be using our brass patina, the copper, and then I grabbed out the 3 metallic paints that I recommended from Redesign with Prima, and I will show you why as we use them, why I like them so much. But this is a purple, it's Crocus Fields. There's the hot pink, which is called Wild Fuchsia, and then this blue, and they were out of stock forever, and they finally got it back in. This is like the golden ticket. This is what does the magic at the very end. So even if you just want to grab this color, I really recommend it. It's super cool, and it adds a lot of pop to this, to any of the Raku finishes. All right. It's kind of like a gold silver blue would be my best way to describe it. Okay, and then I pulled out some Rock Steady. If you don't have the hot pink from Prima, you can use the Rock Steady. It will just make it a little less metallic, but I'll show you both. All right, so now I almost forgot one important thing. Before we make the flames, we have to do one more thing on this side. I'm sorry. We need to add some iron oxide. Almost every Raku piece, if you look at it, has, I call it rust. It's kind of like the way that the copper ages. There might be a little patina and there might be a little bit of rust in a lot of the pieces. So iron oxide is the perfect rust. And so we're going to use just a little bit of it. After we've laid down our refurbished gentleman in native clay, see this kind of rusty brown undertone? That's what we're going to use for this. And I'm just going to kind of stipple it on lightly and then kind of just dry brush over the top. I don't want to completely cover my colors. So this is a very light coat. I have a little bit more paint on my brush, so I'm going to start in the same place where I started before and just make it a little bit thicker. Okay. And you can pull some down into this white too. And just kind of let it look a little rusted. Okay. This will also help to blend that edge. It's supposed to be a harsher edge because it's like here's the raw pottery that was chipped and worn, and then the glaze starts above it, okay? So it's supposed to be a harsh line, but you can soften it more if you would like to. Or you can make it harsher and add a little bit of salt wash to your bone and take your palette knife and kind of come over the top so it sticks out more than the fiery finish. Okay, so we'll add a little bit along these edges. Get our rust on. It dries darker than when you apply it, so keep that in mind. Okay, so I'm running out of paint now. I'm just going to kind of do the same kind of swirls. And just pick up on any texture and let that rest kind of carry across, okay? So this is about what it should look like. This side's wet, so it looks a little brighter. This side's dried, it looks a little bit darker, all right? It's kind of fun to watch the process, to watch the steps go, right? Can you mix Rock Steady with the Pearl Metallic? You can, but it will take away that intensity of the Rock Steady. You can try it and see what you think. But I probably would just, if you didn't have that metallic pink, I'd probably just use the Rock Steady. But you can try it if it doesn't tone it down too much. You want that really intense pop, though. Okay, now we're going to add metallics. This is the fun part. Okay, first we're going to start with sapphire. All right, so basically what we're doing now is we've created a nice base, right? But now we need to give it flames and give it motion and give it that color, right? That's what we are going to do next, okay? Yeah, it is a beautiful, it is a cool finish. I mean, you could add just like a little bit of black dry brushing over the top of that and you'd have a really cool, beautiful finish. You could even add like a little copper dry brush, would be really rad too. That's why it's fun to see the steps kind of broken down, because you can see that, the progression, and see there might be one step along the way that you're like, that's my thing, I love that, I'm doing it. It's like when you go to a conference and you hear a good talk or speaker, sometimes there's just one or two things they say that completely changes everything for you, and I hope that you will find that in this class. Yes, the Prima Metallics are in the Redesign with Prima kit. So I had to do the kits separate. They're coming from separate companies. But yes, there's a kit for both, and they are under the product recommendations guide. Okay. All right. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take our sapphire. Okay. This sapphire is great for creating the base of your flame. And let me show you what we're going for. Okay. So we're going to make this look, even though this is upside down, like this, okay? That's what we're starting to create now. So now that you know where we're going to create our, turn it right side up. We're going to create our flames. See how much dimension that has and pop? It's so rad. Okay, so let's create our flames. We have to decide where we want the flow to go. I think this is a great spot because it's next to this texture. The texture is really going to pop, especially when I add a little bit of color to it. And so we're going to start, and I'm going to do our first flame kind of coming down like this. Okay, sapphire, it's so intense that you hardly need any to create this look. So, you know, you're just creating that base. So I will create these harsh lines, right, first, okay? Now whatever's left on my brush, I'm going to kind of lightly blend it out. I want them to stay harsh. I don't want it to be like all smudgy like this, right? So I'm just gonna lightly pull my brush around it. I wanna make sure that you guys can see this really well. Lightly pull my brush around the edges, just to soften them a little bit. And you can even, I mean, if there's not very much paint on your brush, you can even kind of pull like that. okay? Oh, I like that. Now let's make another one. I think like, let's see, maybe coming up over here. And these don't have to be very big because you're going to build off of them. This is kind of like where it's the very hottest. Like the flame is blue, it's so hot right there in the center, and then it kind of will cool out to that copper. Oh, my nails are almost the same color. That's fun. I never paint my nails. But when I do, I enjoy them for like 10 hours, and then they chip off and stuff. So y'all are getting fresh painted nails. What? Okay, I'm liking that. And you know what? This side's dry enough too. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add some little flamies to this side. And you can have them wider too, almost like an eye. So it's skinnier and then it comes a little bigger and then a little bit smaller, okay? But don't make them all the same. You don't want these to look like tiger stripes or, you know, scratches. You want them to look more organic, okay? Then you can just kind of take whatever you have on your brush that's left and just kind of, I don't know, rub it off. Rub it off so that if you wanted to use it with another color, you could, okay? You just kind of disposing of whatever's on there. It's not really going to affect your finish too much. Unless you have a lot on there, then don't do that. Even if it comes off on your texture, that's okay, because you're going to be layering over it. All right, so now we have our base for our flames, or heat. I'm calling them flames because I feel like that is a good visual to help you think about how you want the flow. This is very important. Creating this flow is a make or break. So have that visual in your mind as you do it, and you'll be more successful. Upside down and backwards. I feel like I live my life upside down and backwards. Okay, now we want to add some color, okay? So I usually go from the blue, what do I do? Blue to the purple to the pink, okay? So we are going to add a little bit of this, the Crocus Fields metallic. Oh, I put that lid on tight. You could add a neon purple if you wanted to instead of the metallics. I just really like these metallics because I feel like they match well with the piece. Oh, we're going to use the same brush because we brushed off most of the paint. I'm just going to dip it in the lid, okay? These metallics are different than the chalk synthesis paint. The chalk synthesis paint is made completely differently. It's chemically very different, okay? And so, yes, you can dry brush with the metallics, but they're not as flexible or as mixable and blendable as the chalk line is, all right? So just keep that in mind, that you're not going to do a ton of blending with the metallics. This is mostly just kind of placing your flames, although you can blend. It's just a little bit more difficult. I just want you guys to understand that. Okay, so I don't want the purples don't have to go all the way to the bottom, but they can. So first, I'm just going to kind of add a little bit, okay? That little bit adds quite a bit of dimension, doesn't it? This one looks deeper inset. Okay, so you don't want to completely cover up your blue. And their metallics are so intense that I'm barely touching the piece and I'm getting that pop. That's what I really like about adding these is you hardly use any. They are small pods, and I've done several dressers with this, and I have, 3/4 of a thing left. So they go a long way. Okay, and then on this one over here, I'm going to add just a little bit in between these two, and maybe pull just a little towards the bottom. And then let's keep going, see how much we have on our brush. And a little bit in here, I'll need it just a little bit more. You know, Lisa, I got so used to painting upside down and backwards that one time I did an online Zoom course for another company, and we had an overhead camera, and I felt like I didn't know how to paint anymore. It was the weirdest experience. Okay, all right, I feel like that is pretty good. I don't want a ton of purple in my piece. If you like purple a lot, you can add more. I like my pieces to look a little bit more on the earthy side, so I try and keep these intense metallics at a very minimum, and because they're so intense, you don't need much for them to really pop, okay? I'm so glad you're loving this. I hope this opens up ideas for all of you. Like, there's nothing more beautiful than having an idea or concept and sharing it with other people, and then watching other people take little bits and create themselves. That's such a cool thing. Oh my gosh. Sorry. I was struggling there. Okay. We have our fuchsia. Okay. So this is the point where I was out of fuchsia when I created the sample board, and I used Rock Steady. Okay, so you can see how it's a little bit darker and it's a little bit more matte than like the purple is, or obviously the copper. Okay, if you want to use that, go for it. Totally can. Okay, I used it in the last one. On this one, I'm going to use the metallic pink to kind of show you the difference as well. But honestly, I'd left my pink open and it dried out, and so I had to order another one and get it here before the class started. That's why we prep, you guys, because then we can order stuff if we need it. Okay, all right. So we're going to add a little bit more pink. So there's going to be a little bit more pink. Okay, and then we are going to add it kind of just around our blue and purple. Okay, it's going to reach out a little bit more. Yeah, and some of you, maybe you wanted to wait to kind of see what you were going to use and all that before, if you wanted to order a kit. If you do want to, you can still order one. All right. Okay, so just use a little bit of the pink. And I'm being very, very gentle as I apply this because I don't want big splotches anywhere. Okay, now I can tell I hardly have any on my brush, so I'm just going to kind of blend out. And always thinking about that flow. Where do I want it to go? How do I want it to look? Is this supposed to go kind of up? Or is it supposed to kind of go straight down? Do I want it sharp? Do I want it soft? So those kind of things are going through my mind as I'm painting. And it will show in your finish. If you're just doing it like this and not thinking about it, when you step back, it won't make sense to you. But if you have a vision in your mind and you're following that vision with your hand as you paint, when you step back, it's going to make a lot more sense. And it will make more sense to other people that see your piece too. Okay, all right. That's what we're looking like, okay? So I'm going to use a tiny bit of Rock Steady just to show you the difference in the look. Yep, just lightly stipple it. Lightly stipple it or bounce your brush. And the more comfortable you get with it, then you might really go to town. So it's up to you. Okay, so I put a little Rock Steady on my brush. I'm just offloading it a little bit right onto my table because this is also a very intense color. And I'm just going to kind of it's a little bit darker in tone than the other one, a little more purpley. Could be that I have blue on my brush, but. And I feel like if you look at Raku pottery, a lot of times it will have like this falling motion of the colors. So as I get to the bottom, I tend to pull down more because I kind of like that falling. Yeah, both are beautiful. One's just going to be more matte, and the other one is going to have that little bit of metallic. So you could always blend out with your matte and then put the metallic over the top of it if you want. Okay, all right, we're ready for some copper. Okay, we've got this done. Now let's add our copper, okay? So first I'm going to add it with my brush. And I'm just going to, well, let's see. I'm going to swap brushes. But not right now. Okay. And as far as brushes go, you can use, I prefer Klingon brushes. They are my go-to. They are amazing. But you can use a different brush if you would like to. I use a variety of different shapes, just depending on what I like. Typically when I'm doing the flames, I like to use like a flat brush, because I can stipple and do those more defined lines. And then for the other Raku finishes, I use, typically I'll use a round or an oval brush most of the time. Okay, all right, so this is how intense this copper is. It's so intense, and it has like that, you know, a little bit of thickness. It's a paste. All right, so when you put this on your piece, know that it's going to be very intense and be ready for that, okay? Yes, you could use the raspberry beret as well. The raspberry beret is a little bit darker, and we will be using it on the other two finishes. Definitely the smoldering Raku finish, we use the raspberry beret in as well. Okay, so I'm going to take the copper. Now we are going to be basically creating around our color, all right? So we're going to start here. And then I'm not going to put much copper down there, okay? I really am going to focus on up here. I'm not going to put any copper at the very top because I feel like this is where it'd be scorched or burned, okay? But, okay, I'm just going to kind of follow my flames up. And because it's so intense, I will do the same. I'll keep going with my brush until I feel like I have to dip it in. And you're basically just going in between those colors. I'm going to get a little bit more on here. And you're kind of like cradling them. This is your exterior of the flame. Okay. As you start to dry brush, so you have your intense copper here. See our texture that we created? That's why it's important to have texture spots. As we dry brush that copper, it's picking up on the texture. And so instead of having to put the copper all the way across and cover everything, we can pull that and dry brush. And then we have dimension, and then we also have like this smooth transition from copper to copper. Isn't that cool? I like it. This is so fun. This is so much fun. I think you guys will have fun doing it too. Like, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Paint over it? Don't love it? I mean, it's so fun. Okay, one thing, and I just realized this, I thought this would be a good thing to tell you all. With the metallic, any metallic paint, if you stipple on a metallic paint, the shine is not going to be as intense as if you brush it on. So think about that when you are doing this. You may have parts you don't want very intense and you'll stipple it. But other parts, see, I'm brushing this. See how much more like intense that is? Just the way the light reflects off of it is a smooth reflection, so you get a more intense coloring, okay? And now I'm just going to kind of lightly just pull out from that and just pull up into the abyss, into this part. And I always say, just add on your color and then go back through. And then you can add a little bit more. Like if I feel like, this flame needs a little bit more in there, come back through. It's not a rushed, hurry and get this done. Raku finishes take time, but they are very rewarding, and it just is it's really cool to look at a piece you've created and spent time on, and it looks, so real. It's so fun. Okay, so I'm just kind of, pulling up where I think these flames might go. Can you see how these layers of colors make such a big difference? We've covered up a lot of it, but those little peaks through make such a big difference. I'm going to start painting my hair if I'm not careful. Okay, I like that. I like it a lot. Needs just a little bit of softening right there, and then you can even see how I made it more intense, almost like a galaxy. Okay, you can kind of bring your brush in, and you can do harsher lines if you want to. Maybe in here. We've got lots of texture, so it's not going to do a harsh line like I want it to there. Yeah. Okay, we're getting it. I could work on this for hours, but I'm not going to. Okay, so now that we have all of those things in there, okay, we're going to move on to our last few steps. Now this looks really cool, right? It's really, really beautiful, and I like it a lot, actually. But there's a couple more things that we're going to add that will just bring it to that next level, okay? So, and you can see I could probably still keep going on this. That's how thin my layers are and how quickly my paint is drying. In the winter, it might be a different story. Okay, now this is same thing we've done on this side. We're going to take it to match this side over here, okay? This is that mermaid kiss. Is it mermaid kiss? Mermaid sparkle. This is that mermaid sparkle that I was telling you about. It's the only color I found that gives that effect, okay? All right, I feel like I need to add just a little bit more flow here. Okay. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now we want to add a little bit of, we'll call it smoke. Okay, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of smolder, because in a Raku it has the flames and the smoke kind of enveloping it, and there will be parts that look a little more charred. All right, so that's expected when you see that. So let's create a little bit of char and then add on our mermaid sparkle, and then our fiery Raku finish is done. Okay, so I am going to use carbon. And actually, I'm going to try and just see if I can use what's on my brush. I know I mixed this with salt wash, but I think that if we get off enough, then we can kind of dry brush with it. Okay, let me just double check for your questions. A universe full of color. Yeah, that's awesome. I think it does too. You could, spritz stars on it. That'd be cool. Cynthia, it's the brass patina effects. This is copper. It is copper, but that's what the name of this one's called, the patina effect paste in brass, and it's the same one. Hi, Lindsay. Yeah, definitely. You can always watch the replay. So I think I found out today, maybe I need to do an update on my phone, but my guides were missing from my phone, not on the computer. So maybe I need to update that, but if you're missing them, it might be that they are only available on the computer, just the guides tab, and not on your phone. That doesn't mean you can't watch the videos on your phone, okay? All right, so let's see how this does. This is just our brush that, okay, I think we're gonna be okay. Okay, so we're gonna create a little bit of smolder, a little bit of smoke, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm gonna start in the areas where the copper comes up into my blue and purple. the flame part, okay? We're just going to darken that a little bit. By dry brushing our carbon on, okay? So can you see how it's starting just to darken a little bit, and it's starting to pick up a little bit on some of our texture, okay? That it's gonna have the same effect where we had our intense copper and we went up over texture and had more intense copper, so it gives it that nice consistent flow when it picks up on that texture. This is actually working really well. This is just the same brush that I used at the beginning when we added our carbon, okay? All right, and I'm just gonna come down over this a little bit. See how it's still leaving the copper but picking up on that texture? It kind of helps to age that copper a little bit. I did this on a piece of furniture. And it was the first piece of like Raku inspired furniture that I ever did. I found some pots online. I thought they were really rad. I dreamed about doing a finish with them because I thought it would be amazing. My husband and I were out of town and we stopped at a thrift store and I found my first piece of Raku pottery that next day. I'd never owned a piece or seen a piece in my life. And I thought, well, that's not a sign. I don't know what is. So as soon as we got home, I started painting, and I just fell in love with it. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of cool pieces you can mimic. Okay, so basically, that's my smolder. If you like it a little bit more charred, a little more, darkened, then you can keep going. But that's about as far as I want to go, just enough so it picks up on that texture, okay? And then, I'm so glad to hear that. It makes me happy. Sometimes I feel like I don't know, I talk too much, but I want to give you guys all the information, and so I'd rather give too much than not enough. Okay, so I appreciate that. Okay, now here's our magical part that I really, really love. You don't have to use a palette knife for this part, but I found, especially after doing all the sample boards, that it is the easiest and most effective way to get the look you want. So for this, we are going to use the Mermaid Sparkle. If you do not have this, I would recommend, and you can get metallics, I would recommend getting maybe a really light blue and a gold and mixing them together. I think that you'll get and silver if you have it. If not, just like a blue and a gold, and you'll get a kind of a cool color that's similar to that. But if you have all three, you can mix a little bit to get that color. You can also use mica powders. So they have metallic mica powder that you can use, and you can mix it in. I think I've seen people do it with the top coat. Or you can get a medium to mix that in with, and then you could kind of create one similar to it yourself if you can't get this for some reason. Or if you want to just try that, you can. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit bigger palette knife. Now you don't need very much of this either, okay? That is going to be too much. If I try to lay that down, it's not just going to pick up on the texture, it's going to go into the texture and smudge it out, okay? So what I'd recommend doing is having like a paper plate or something. We're going to use a stick, okay? And offloading your paint for this part onto it. That way you have a little more control of how much is on, that's about perfect, how much is on your palette knife, okay? Now the hottest part, or it's almost like it's still glowing, or it's been heated so much that it's like had enough pressure as a diamond or something, I don't know, but that's kind of what we're going for, and it just goes right in the center of your flames, okay? So we're gonna just pull that up. If we get a little onto another spot, that's all right. See how magical that is? Oh, it's so good. So a little bit, go for my stick a little bit more. That's about how much I want on there. Okay, so you really don't need much of this. You just need enough to kind of give it that pop. Okay, so there we are. I feel like it needs like a little bit, maybe just some right here. You can kind of play with it and decide where you want it to go. Okay, all right, so you can do this. You can also take a little bit more of your copper. If you feel like you want just a little bit more pop, take some of that copper or the brass patina effect paste. Okay, and then you can add just a little bit kind of in over top of your copper. This is going to make it pop a little bit more because all of those spots, see how that looks a little more pure, a little brighter? You've dry brushed that dark over the top, and so if you have just a few little brighter spots like that, or you kind of come across a pattern with a brighter spot, it's going to give you even more dimension, even more pop, and it's going to look more real, which is so cool. I like that. See, I like those little spots. It just kind of catches, right? Let's add just a little bit. Like that. And when you're adding texture too, you know, you can kind of think about the flow that you want as you add texture. Let's say you really want some cool like lines that you could follow the metallic with that will really pop. Then think about that when you're adding your texture and kind of, you know, just pull that across. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll just say everyone has really great ideas. Lots of people have the same idea. There's probably, I don't know, a few thousand people walking around the exact same idea that I have in my head. But if you do copy the finish, just give credit. That's all you have to do. Just give credit. It's a really, really nice thing to do. And your followers, if you have a business with followers, your followers will appreciate that. And then you'll both benefit from it. Okay, I like that. I think that's freaking cool. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you want to try this? Are you excited about this finish? Are you more excited about the other finishes? What are your thoughts as we wrap up our evening together? Yeah, it's like the wall behind me. It kind of has that flow, and I've got those veins in it, so you can kind of think about that when you add your texture, okay? So we basically went from this to this with a few steps in between. I will take photos of these. I know I posted some close-ups. I'll take some more photos. I think it's very helpful for you to be able to see them, and I know that the videos aren't as clear as the photos sometimes will be, and even sometimes the photos on Facebook are not as clear as they should be. So I will post them so you can really see some of that detail and the colors. But you can see how this area here looks dark or charred or burned, right? You can also use, besides the carbon, when I dry brushed it, you could use a chocolate, a brown, or you could use a black as well. Any one of those look really great and work well. All right. Okay, so that is our fiery Raku finish. And we will do another challenge, but it'll be after this workshop. I'm glad you guys are liking it. That makes me happy. Yeah, we will do another challenge. The last one was awesome. I was so, I was giddy. I was so impressed, and I felt like many of you really did something that you've never done before. And that's so cool because that starts to open up doors when you just walk through it and start experimenting and trying out new things. You'll never know where it will take you. And I hope that as you learn these finishes and do them, that they take you to somewhere beautiful. And that your work is like amazing. That would be really rad. That's like the best part of doing this is watching, seeing what you guys do. So keep doing it. Okay. Why did I cry? Oh well, we cry. That's like, I'm a person. Anyway, so I hope you guys have a wonderful, beautiful night. I will be here tomorrow night, 6 p.m., same time. We will be doing, I believe it's the Smoldering Raku finish that we will be doing tomorrow night. And then Saturday morning, we will do our Bright Matte Raku finish. And those are super fun too. So I think you guys are going to have a lot of fun with this. And I will see you all tomorrow night. Yes, I did. Thank you, Deb. All right. See ya. Oh, better go wash my hands.